Okay, so let's begin with today's session. So today's session will be on web application security. People often call it bug bounty. So this is the only way where you get bounty for finding security flaws in any website. So we will be starting with the basics and then we will move on with some techniques and tricks. How can you find flaws in any websites and other stuffs. Okay, so I will be sharing my screen now. Okay, so let's start with our browser first. So what is a web application? Okay, people are still joining in. Okay, now let's begin. So what is a web application? So anything you can visit, like every website is called a web application. So let's open with google.com. So this is a kind of web application. So it has certain features, some functionalities, a search box and few other stuffs. So in web application security, what we do is we deal with the security of application pen testing, how we can secure a website from unauthorized access and misuse. So what is the misuse we can expect from any web application? So sorry. So we will be doing everything on a test website and not on a real website. So this is the test website you can see. So let's suppose this is a website. It has a search box. It has some other categories, artists and different pages. So how a website works, first we will be discussing this. So everything that you see on your screen, it is the front end part. So every content that you can see is written in HTML. So everything that you can see on a website, each and every word, each and every image, these all things has been included in your HTML file. So and the other designing and stuffs, like which part will be placed where, these all things are defined in CSS and JavaScript files. And there is backend, and backend deals with your database and other things, like how a website should redirect and refer when you are doing something. It fetches some data from the backend, from the database, and it refers and it shows on the web page. So normally a website works, you click on something. So when you click on this thing, when I am clicking on disclaimer, what happens is a certain request for this web page goes to the web application server. The server sees that I am requesting for this page, that is testphp.vulnweb.com/disclaimer.php. So when I am requesting for this page, the server responds to this page. It gives me all the resources required for this page. And what are those resources? The resources is this logo, these words, this search box designing and other stuffs. Okay, so this is normally a web application works. So now we will be discussing a very important tool, or you can proxy server, that is Burp Suite. So what is a Burp Suite? So Burp Suite is a tool which works at application layer. It works at application layer but is a proxy. So when we were learning networking, we heard that there are different OSI layers and different TCP IP model layers. So in those layers, when we deal with application, when we can see something, when we can directly interact with something, that is called that works at application layer. So Burpsuite is a proxy. It is a web application proxy which works at application layer. So normally a proxy works at network layer, but this proxy works at your application layer where you can directly interact. So what a Burpsuite does? So a Burpsuite has different features. So first of all, like, there are two different editions of Burpsuit. There is a professional edition and there is a community edition. There are certain differences and certain limitations with some functionalities which are there with community edition. So if you want to like pursue web application security for long, you can go for professional version as well. So now let's deal with different things in Burpsuit. So there is a target tab. So what this target tab does is it can show you all the websites which you are visiting. This site, this this site is the sitemap where you can see all the websites that you visit that is under scope. In this part, in this second column, where I am pointing, here you can see hosts, methods used to fetch websites, the actual URL, whether the parameters are present or not. So what are parameters? So parameters are thing where we can inject something, anything which can be changed when a request is going to the server is referred as parameter. The status, so what are status codes? So there are different status codes starting from 200. 200 is for okay. So when we request for something and the server responds and server finds that thing in its database, it shows a request of 200. So there are different requests, 200, 201, 202. Then there are requests like 300, 301, 302. So 2xx, that means 201, 202, 203. These kind of requests are for situations when we request something and the server finds the request. Server can serve the request, so then we can get 2xx as a status code. So when we are getting a status code as 3xx, what 3xx means, like 301, 302, 303, these are 3xx status codes. So these are the status code which you get when there is a redirection. So what is a redirection? So when you try to open certain website, you see a change in the domain. Let's see. So when I type in google.com, see, I am typing google.com, but when it opens, it refers me to https://www.google.com. If I try to open google.in, when I try to open google.in, it opens www.google.co.in. So we can see there is a redirection. So whenever we try to open something and we get something else as a response, this is called redirection. So redirection are of different types. There is a temporary redirection, there is permanent redirections. So this is a permanent redirection. A permanent redirection is when we try to visit something and we land on something else, but for permanently. And when we talk about temporary redirection, so temporary redirection is something where we want to open something but it redirects to somewhere else and then goes back to the original page. This you have almost seen on every movie download page where we try to download movies and you are redirected to every other single domain but not to the download link. Okay, so now I will try to set up the Burpsuit. So to integrate Burpsuit with our browser, what we need to do is, so actually Burpsuit works at this IP address, the local host 127.0.0.1 at 8080 port. So if we try to integrate our Burpsuit, the proxy server, with our browser, what we need to do is we can go to preferences. So a normal way to go to preferences is simply clicking about, and then we can go to preferences. And the other method is you can go here and you can go to preferences, that is settings. So when you go to settings, there are a lot of different settings available. So you can directly search for proxy settings. When you search for proxy settings, you get this. So in this you can go to manual proxy configuration and you can give this your normal IP address at what your burp suite is working. When you give this and give this port number 8080 and tick this column so that we can use this proxy server for all protocols and click on OK. So now our browser is working on the same loopback IP address, that is 127.0.0.1, and our burp suite is also working on the same IP address and it is running. So now what we can do is we can visit any pages. So initially there is a problem. So what the problem is, when you initially set up your burp suite with the browser and you try to visit any website, what happens is that the server does not identify this proxy server. Server finds that the signature is not valid. So how to get the signatures correct? So you can visit http://burp. When you visit this website, you can go here, the CA certificate. You can click on this CA certificate, you can save this certificate, and when you save this certificate, then you can go to preferences, you can search for certificates, view certificates, and then you can import that certificate. When you import that certificate successfully, then you will be allowed and you will be easily opening all other websites through your application layer proxy, that is burp suite. So how burp suite generally works? So when we try and enter anything, let's try to search for anything random. I click here. So what happened is, let's see here. Okay, so this is our proxy tab, and when I go to intercept, so what happens is when I try to search something, the request first goes to the burp suite. I have different options. What I can do is I can forward this request, I can drop this request, and I can edit anything, I can add or remove anything. This is basically what it means. I can add anything, I can remove anything, I can forward and drop requests, I can see the headers, and I can see the hexadecimal values. So now if I turn the intercept off, it will not. Yes.
Sir, actually, your screen is getting stuck in between, so we aren't able to see it properly.
Okay, so is this the problem with everyone else?
Yes, sir.
Actually, it's getting stuck.
Yes, sir, same problem.
Yes, the screen is a bit delayed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me see something. Hold on. Okay.
Like you can try to log in again, and then if you share, I think it will go.
Okay, Devjit, I am trying to log out and you can let me in again.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Just clear the system cache.
Or still is there any latency with the video? Hello? Hello? So is my screen visible or is there any latency?
It's visible.
Okay, so I think there is no latency now, so I think I should start now. Okay, so what I was telling is how burp suites work. So in the proxy tab, when you open burp suite and you go to this proxy tab and turn on the intercept, you see a lot of different things. So what is this? This is the actual request which is going to the server. So when I open a new tab, I drop this request and I try to search for something. Let's see, I search for this thing. Hello. So what happens is I see a normal request. So what is this request is, the first request is complete search. So the host is google.com and it wants to search using the client Firefox, which is my browser. when I forward this request, I see different things. So why I see that I searched for hello, my query is hello, the client is Firefox browser, this is my cookie, this is my session ID, this is the secure session ID, and there are many different things which you can see as going to the as request to the server. So when I keep on forwarding this request, I will see that my website will load. So this is my website that loaded, and this is the active URL at the end, google.com/search/client Firefox and the hello. So this is how this
Yes, sir.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but your screen is lagging.
I think there is an issue with the internet. Sorry, there is an
I
issue
think
with
it's a
the
network issue.
yes. This is the issue is with the internet, because like from past 3 days it is running. That's why I just postponed the sessions previously as well.
Yes.
Okay, so am I audible? If my screen is lagging, am I audible?
Voice
you are.
is also breaking.
So we can do one thing. We can schedule it to someday else, or if Devjit would like, he can take over.
Okay, so what I can take over from here, but how far should we go today? Till XSS.
No. What I
Shall I
was
start with
what I was
XSS?
planning to do today was we can just deal with all the other stuffs in the burp suite, like what dashboard does, what target is, what proxy, intruder, repeater, sequencer. Let's show every other tools that we can do and how we can use that. When we learn about the working of the burp suite, then
So
we
let's
learn.
go for burp suite.
Yes. So
I'll
finish.
just fire up my burp suite and join it in a second.
Okay, so I will be taking a different session some other day on the real pen testing. So let's learn about burp suite today from Devjit. Is that all right?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir,
Not
fine.
Okay, till then, if anyone has any questions, he can ask me. He or she can ask me. For the time being, Devjit is getting ready with his system.
Hello,
Yes, hello.
is there any tool which can replace Burp Suite better than Burp Suite?
No, so there is no tool better than burp suite. There are many tools, but there is nothing better than burp suite. There you can use Zap, you can use other tools, but Zap is one of the best tools, but still burp suite is the best, because the way you can interact with the burp suite is you cannot interact with anyone else. It has a lot of options. You can even customize your own tools, and you can just create your extensions and add in your burp suite. So it makes things a lot easy and handy.
Thank you.
So, what are the extra things available in professional purpose?
So in professional burp suite, what you get is you get an option to scan, and in like you get to scroll every pages on the website. So when you visit a website, let's suppose you visit abc.com. So when you visit abc.com, there are many other pages on abc.com, like abc.com/contact us/images, slash about us, and there are like hundreds and hundreds of different pages. So in professional version, what you get is, it will automatically scan every single page which is visible or not visible to human. It will crawl everything. And the professional version is little faster when you try to attack on websites. When you create your payloads and when you can try to attack on websites, professional version is little faster.
It costs $200, right, for a year.
It's $399 a year. Is there any more question? Because like I don't know if you were hearing me or not, because my voice was breaking. So like if anyone has any question before Devjit starts, from my part, if anyone has any question, or from overall web application security, if anyone has any question, yes, he can ask me.
So with the help of Burpsuit, we can also scan APK files.
No. So Burpsuit is just only for web applications, and by web applications I mean only websites. So if you want to do and scan Android, so you have to learn about Android pen testing, and that you can do with many different tools. So the basic one is ADB. So you have to like turn on your developers option. First you have to enable your developers option, then you have to go to USB debugging, then you have to connect your phone with your PC, and then using ADB tools you can interact and scan your Android files and APK.
Hello everyone, is my screen visible? I'd like a bit of confirmation on that.
Yes, sir.
So, lastly, there was a question whether Bobsu can be used to analyze APK files or not. So, in that regard, all I want to say is if
Devjit, Devjit, Devjit,
Voice
Devjit.
is breaking.
Your voice is breaking, sir.
Yes, you too have internet issues.
Hello.
Excuse me, your voice is breaking.
Hello?
Devjit, listen,
Hello.
listen. Your voice is completely breaking.
Wait, I just broke my system. Actually, hold on. Is it better now?
Yes, much better.
But there is still some disturbance.
Background there is some voice.
Those are the network issues because these are the background
Yeah,
noises.
there is
Never
some
mind,
disturbance.
because we are having some disturbance here because the Eastern India, it was on the eastern side of the country. They know that we are facing severe storm issues right now. So we got to make do with it. Okay. So somebody asked that whether Android, we can analyze Android with Burpsuit or something related to that. So all I want to say is, if we, in our Wi-Fi settings of an Android phone, we'll find an proxy option. If we set it to we point that proxy to the device on which we have our Burpsuit, then we can analyze the requests which have been sent through the Android. So that's one thing which I wanted to show, and now let's get back to
Okay,
pen
Devjit,
testing.
Devjit,
Okay,
let
can
me.
everybody see my screen?
Can you clear one thing? By requests you mean only web application request and nothing else.
Yeah, web request. If you're thinking that you can say you can intercept WhatsApp messages and all, that won't work. Sorry.
Okay, so Burp Suite is only for web applications.
Okay, so guys, those who can see my screen, I'll just open a very useful website. Wait. So it's lagging a bit, but this website which is opening GT for builds, it's and testing. This is one of the most useful websites out there. So what we can do right now is first we'll turn on our intercept, and when we try to refresh it, so here we have our request intercepted. So from here we'll go to a tool known as intruder. See here we have an option send to intruder. What intruder helps us do is we can attack this website. Suppose we don't have any such attacking vector here. Let's say we had a in this we will assume it for now that this cache control is a vulnerable and possible vector. What we can do is here you see we have the symbol. We can add this as a potential attacking vector. So if when we add this, what this basically does is it takes now we can take a list and use that list to brute force our way into the system. This is specifically useful when we are trying to go for SQL injections or cross-site scripting where we have a huge humongous payload, and what we try to is we try to find the best possible way to get into the system, or maybe to get a file. And if we are talking about LFI or stuff like that, then it helps us to parse through directories in a brute force way. So what we do is from here we select this position, that this is the place where we are going to brute force, and then we can select our payloads option. So see here we can do one thing is we can load a list as we wish. So here's a dir burster list. If those who are with Kali system, so they will have these lists by default. If we load this list, for example, let the list load. You can see here are some things which are mentioned that these are exclusively for the pro version. I'll wait for the list to load for a bit. Okay, here we see we have a very humongous list of payloads, and now we can start our attack. Here we see we have a start attack button. Guys, wait, we need to wait for a bit because it is lagging.
Devjit, can we schedule it to someday else, because your voice is breaking and you also have internet issues. It won't be able to, people won't be able to understand anything because your voice is breaking, the system is lagging, so it will be a mess.
We had okay. So guys, if you think you guys are facing problem, let us know, then we can move to another day.
Your voice is still not coming. Your
basic
voice is
code
still
is
not
about-
coming.
Hello. Sir, I feel if you move it to the other day, it will be best. Why? Because Burpsuit is very important and it's like people will have many so, and your screen is stuck in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I said. I wanted to make be the session very important and problem free. So I wanted to shift it to someday else, because otherwise
Yeah.
people won't be able to understand. And Burpsuit is the really basic thing and it should be known to everyone. So can we shift it to tomorrow or day after tomorrow, when
Yes, sir, whenever it is possible for
yeah,
you.
because we are facing heavy thunderstorms and rains, so that's why we are scheduling it for every second or third day.
Okay.
Harshit Bhaiya,
Yes.
what I was thinking is maybe we can make a video of this and send it to them. Is it feasible, like a YouTube video? What does the community suggest, guys? What if we give you a pre-recorded video of the basics of Bob suit and maybe hold a doubt clearing session later on?
Better make a video. That will be better.
Yes, bro, it's better to make a YouTube video. Everyone can see it whenever they are free.
Yeah, bro. Like we can revise also.
Make the video and upload it to a drive so that we can access it.
Yes.
Instead
Okay,
of YouTube.
okay. So don't you think that it will be a problem for, like, you won't be able to ask questions, and the time you are watching that video, the few questions may arise and you won't be able to ask it. So won't this be a problem to everyone?
We can host only a call for the doubts, right? Like in that we don't have screen sharing on all. We will be asking doubts and you can clear them.
Okay, so can I request everyone that if we share a video, so please everyone watch it, and while watching, if you feel like there is a doubt with you, you can note it down so that you don't forget anything, and if you are asking a doubt, other 20 or 40 people can relate to that doubt. They will also clear their doubts.
We can ask in
Yeah.
the right. I think that's not
Yes, sir. But can you share any PDF related things for basics, this penetrating testing and all?
Okay,
After
see,
that, we can
I
watch
can
videos
I
and
can
all.
share a PDF, but like PDFs, I have not created any PDF on this thing. So if I am giving someone else's resources, then you won't be able to understand everything, because the problem is with, like, the professionals that they create PDFs highly precisely and their contents are exhaustive. You won't understand everything until and unless you have a good basics. So sharing PDF won't help you, because you will get some parts, you won't get some parts. Hello, was I audible? Hello.
Yes, Harshita. Another thing, guys, is that personally, what we have found as we have tried to gather material for the community is that these PDFs are often quite difficult to understand for a beginner. Like, it's also from my personal experience, everyone who has been sharing it with them. So it's better we will be hosting a video on YouTube, and feel free to ask doubts in the group. We try to solve them all. Other than that, we can also host a live session solely for doubt clearing. List out your doubts. We come online and just shoot your doubts at us, and we will be more than happy to comply with the community. Does that sound cool for everyone? I'll
Yes.
take a vote.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, obviously.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that is very good.
Okay, so please give me 24 to 48 hours to, like, create videos. So when I create the video, I will host it on YouTube and I will share in the group.
Yeah, it's good.
it's fine, sir.
And guys, does
Yes, sir, it's
anybody
good.
has any question pertaining to the sessions till now? Like those who have been regularly attending our sessions, do you have any questions pertaining to the sessions till now? Okay, I guess there aren't any. So, Harshita, can we close this session for today?
Yes, we can close this session for today. So let me ask again, like, we have been teaching Linux and networking till now. So if anyone has any question in those two domains as well, so they can ask.
Hey, Arshit.
Yes, hello, hi.
Actually, I'm using the cracked version of Burp Suite. So, will it be feasible?
Yes, there is no issue with using cracked version, but I cannot officially suggest you to use this. But yes, you can definitely use. Even Everyone uses this. Like nobody generally invests $400 every year until unless they are earning bounties. So it is
Yes.
all right if you are using this.
And is it possible to manipulate the prices of e-commerce product
It
from
is
that
it is it
website?
is possible. Yes, it is possible. Definitely possible. But now Flipkart, Amazon, and these websites they have been highly secured. They have invested huge amount of money to secure these things. So you won't find these type of issues with these websites. But definitely, if there is a new website or any other e-commerce website, you can definitely do this.
Okay. Even I tried doing that, but never happened.
Actually, if you try to do it with Amazon and Google's Amazon and like Flipkart or Mintra or Zebong, so what these
Yeah, I
websites
tried of
have, yeah,
Mintra.
so these websites have already been reported these issues years back because when these websites released, people tried to do the same thing. They get these vulnerabilities, they report it, and the companies they fixed these issues. So if they have already fixed these issues, you won't be finding these kind of issues with websites who are investing so much money in their security.
Yes. And
So with community edition, we can find bounties.
Yeah, founding bounties is not limited to your Burbsuit edition. You can do it with any way you want. You can do it without Burbsuit. Like if you can read a website and you know that there is a parameter which is vulnerable, so you can exploit that without using Burbsuit as well. Bounties do not depend on this kind of apps. Bounties depend on your skills.
We get all the bugs from the burp suit, or else we should do the manual test.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, we get all the bugs from the burp suit, right? Or else we should do some manual test. The
No,
burp suit
no.
will not give us the
Okay.
false positive or something like that.
Yes, there are false positives. Bubshoot does not give you directly an issue. It may show you potential issues, but it is after all an application developed by a human. So you cannot expect that it will show you everything. Every day when you try to do something, you will get something new, you will learn something new. So when you learn something new, you can try that on new websites. So it won't give you everything
Harshita,
you.
can I add to this?
Yes.
Can I add to this? So, few days back, it's an interesting topic. Few days back, I was pen testing a box using Burpsuit, and there was something known as brute forcing a login page. I tried Burpsuit and I failed. I tried Metasploit and I failed. But there is a tool called Nikto. I tried that and it succeeded. Whereas the credentials, which like the list which I was using, was same in all three of those. So it completely depends upon the method which is being used by these devices. So it's always suggested that go for at least 2 to 3 of these popular scans or intrusion methods if you're trying, because sometimes things work, sometimes things don't, due to a multitude of reasons. But always go for more than one attack vector, I'll suggest.
Okay, so I will be
Yeah.
adding few more things to this. So when you use an application, it will just give you 10 to 20% of security issues and the generic security issues which you find. Like still Google has some security flaws, Facebook has some security flaws, everyone has some security flaws. But Google and Facebook, these websites don't get security flaws every couple of days. These websites get security flaws in every like 5 months, 6 months, or even an year. So why this happens is like those issues are so complicated that a simple scan or a simple tool cannot detect that. For that you need a hell lot of experience to understand how this website works and how you can exploit that feature. So let me tell you one more thing, a normal experience which I had. So okay, so everyone is using Flipkart or Amazon or every other e-commerce website where they can buy anything. Okay, so let's suppose you have an account, you ordered something and you get a order ID then if you order something, you get an option to cancel your order. So when you go on cancel your order from website, from not from the app, I am talking everything in respect with the website. So when you go to cancel your order page on your website, on in your account, using your account, you will see there is some URL like xyz.com/order/modify/cancel/ the order ID, and these kinds of URL. You will definitely get these kinds of URL when you want to cancel your ID. The URLs may vary on depending upon different websites, but this is a format which you can get. So if you try to open this URL using your incognito mode or using someone else's account, do you think this website should open, this link should open? No, this link should be limited to the person who has ordered that product. Because if you are ordering a product and if I click on that link from my phone, it is possible that your order will be cancelled. So is like, don't you think it will be a problem, like you are ordering something and I am able to cancel your order? So these kind of issues you won't find using any other tool. These kind of things you have to think, you have to innovate, and you have to then try. So what, like when I was trying on a website, what happened was there was a link. So the link was abc.com, I won't take the name of the website, /account/payments/the order ID, and what I did was, so this was limited to only admin, like only admin can verify payments of any order ID. So if I get an order ID, so order ID was a 10 or 15 digit numeric number. So if I try to brute force that, like if I try to open every website using that link, like abc.com/account/payment/order ID /0000001 0000002 so if I open every website, if I send request to every domain it has, so what will happen is every payment will be accepted even if the admin does not accept it. So these kind of security flaws is only found when you try and you innovate in yourself, because these kind of links should be limited only if you have the session cookie of the admin. Got my point?
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, and while finding, like, we have the website and while finding the bugs on that, how can we choose the website for that one? There are 5 phases, right? How to gather the information and all those things.
Okay. So when you are choosing a website, so how do you choose a website? So you can create your account on different platforms. So what those platforms, this can be like HackerOne or Bugcrowd. So these two are really popular platforms where you can sign up as a researcher, and then you can see a list of programs, bug bounty programs set up by different websites, and you can pick any one and you can try on that website. If you find a bug, you can open your account, you can submit your report, and you will get your bounty if the report
that's
is
what-
valid.
Like, we have chosen the website.
Okay.
Like we have to gather the information about that website, right?
Okay.
Like what are the IPs, hosts, and what are the emails and all those things.
Okay. So there are different tools through which you can do it. First, to get your IP, you can use dig command, dig space the website name, and you can see the DNS records. If you type in who is space the domain name, you will get in every other details, like when this website was created, when this website was updated, what are the certificates, when the certificates will expire, and these are the details. When you want to gather information about email IDs and other things which website may have, you can use a tool called Harvester. The Harvester will gather these information for you. If you want to gather more information, you can use Google Docs. What Google Docs is, when you type in anything in the Google search box, it is passed as a string and Google searches that string in its database. But when there are some specific keywords which you can use to limit those requests, so like if you type in site : a site name, you will only get results from that website. If you type in text admin space site and that website, you will get only responses only search results which will contain the word admin in its page within that website. So these are the processes you can use to gather information about a website.
Okay.
Okay, there are many tools, like you cannot limit to these 4 tools. There are many tools. I am just telling you few names and you will get to know other names as you proceed with this process.
Yeah, and one thing is like if I found a port like 21 open and 80 open, sorry 22, it is SSH, right?
Yes,
That's one,
SSH
and
is I
like
guess
80 is
23.
open. Yeah,
SSH is I guess 23, right?
no, 22 SSH I
Okay,
think.
22.
Yeah, 22 and 80 are open.
Okay.
Yeah, we should hack that website. Like it is a bug bounty program. Like hack and this hack the box.
Okay.
We should like gather information about the port or like something about the website
See,
and website.
Harshita, can I answer this?
Yes, yes, sure.
See, when we're talking about posts like a SSH and 20, or we're talking about FTP post, is it necessary that it's vulnerable? Suppose if the FTP port does not allow anonymous login or has a secure password, then it's completely fine. It has got no issues. You can always use that. It doesn't mean it's vulnerable. But suppose if it's running an older version or older FTP service, then we have Metasploit modules, we have Exploit DB modules with which we can exploit it. So that's completely relative to the box which you're trying to crack. An
Yeah, I was
open
asking.
port, an open port always does not signify that the box is vulnerable. It means that there is an extra service running on that port, and that it may be a possible attack vector. That's it.
Yeah, I was asking that's it, sir. Like if you have the 80 open, right?
Hello? I didn't get you.
Yeah, there is a open port 80, right? We should hack that one. Like we should go to the web servers and like we should do some enumerations
It's
there.
not, it's, yeah, that's the basic step, but that's not all. There are plenty of steps which can be taken. Like you can also check if you have a port 139 open, then you can go for enumerating the SAFA or Samba clients. If you have a port 21 open, you can go and see around the FTP files. If you have like a port 80 on web server, you can enumerate the web server for possible ways to get the shell back to you. If it has a weak login, you can brute force the login. There's no hard and fast rule. It's like, mathematics, that you are given a problem. It does not depend on how you solve it, as long as you get a correct solution. That's it. You have to find the area of a square. You can use a simple multiplication formula, or you can integrate it. It's the same thing, right? So as long as you get able to successfully get a shell or break into the system, it doesn't matter. It's all perspective. There's no hard and fast rule. Suppose you have given me a graph and told me find the area of the rectangle. If I use a complex integration formula to find it out, as long as I get the correct result, you cannot have an objection. It's kind of like that. There's no hard and fast method on how you do this stuff. You know that these are the tools available in my arsenal, and this is my end target, and that's how you do it. That's it. As simple as that. Though it takes a huge time and practice.
Okay, if your doubt is clear, you can say it is clear, and if it's not, you can ask again. There is no issue.
So, if we found a bug or a vulnerability or parameter, to whom we need to report this issue?
Okay, I will suggest you one thing. Okay, so when you find a bug on any website, you can directly report it using your email ID. Like you can mail them to their security email that I have found, like the subject will be responsible disclosure, and there is a format to report a bug. You can go follow that format and you can report that bug normally. But if you are using this method, like if you are trying to mail someone, what will happen is they may ignore your message, they may ignore your mail, because nobody wants to pay anyone anything. So I am telling you a personal experience. 7 or 8 days back, one of my student called me up and sent me a screenshot that I have found a bug, so what should I do? So the bug was on bigbasket.com. So what the bug was that he can bypass the two-factor authentication. So when you try to change your password, it sends an OTP. So he was able to bypass the OTP. So he sent, so there is no that kind of bug bounty program hosted for Big Basket on any platform like HackerOne or Bugcrowd. So I suggested him that you can directly report it using your mail, because there was no other option to report it. So this was a huge vulnerability of two-factor authentication bypass. Anyone can expect at least $500, that is around 35,000 to 40,000 for this kind of bug. But what happened was he received a reply from Big Basket, and they said that they know about this flaw and they are trying to solve it. So he again told me ki Bhaiya, so he's there. The problem is that the Big Basket has replied, but they are saying that they know about this bug. So how can I be sure that they know about this bug? Them that, like, there might be a possibility that he has reported that bug. Now they know about the bug, but they don't want to pay him. So they said that we know about this and we are fixing it. So I told him that write a mail asking for if you know about this flaw, can you share some proofs that someone else has reported this, then I can get satisfied. Otherwise, if you don't have a proof that someone else has already reported this to you, send me at least an appreciation letter and add my name in Hall of Fame. So the Hall of Fame is a concept where if you find a bug for any website, so they add your name in their Hall of Fames. So this time they did not reply. So I won't suggest that you should try on any website who have not opened their bug bounty program on these kind of platforms like HackerOne, Bugcrowd, because if you find one, there is a very less possibility that they will reply. If they reply, they won't accept that it is a flaw. Even if they accept that it is a flaw, they will say we know about that flaw. And even if they accept and they say that we don't know about this flaw, you have found this flaw for us, they will not pay you. So I would suggest that you use platforms like HackerOne and Bugcrowd, because that is like a medium. When you report something, it stays there. So if they need to show a proof, you can show that like this bounty program has been reported earlier or not. So I would suggest that you should use any platform like that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other question? Okay, if we don't have, then we can just close this meeting and we can meet someday else after you all watch the videos. Okay.
Yes, thank
Okay, so I'm asking for the last time. So if anyone has any question, they can ask, or else we will be closing this meeting. Okay, so I don't think anyone have any questions. So now I will be closing the meeting. Thank you for attending the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks everyone, and we'll be soon bringing you more quality content on $0 security. And stay safe, stay home, and good night, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Good night.